All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSims DFS office hours. Today is Tuesday, June 4th of 2024. Looking ahead, we have a 10-game MLB main slate on this Tuesday here with more DFS action on the way later this week. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew. I am one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS related questions. You get your questions in one of three ways here. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord, excuse me, and you want to get access to that, there's a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, individual sport channels, and you get access to the rest of the SaberSim teams. Can't say enough good things about the Discord. With that said, we do this show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern. And we do this show here on Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. So tune in and get your questions answered. But with that said, going to get the app pulled up here, have a few questions in the office hours channel to get us started. But if you guys have any questions, now is a good time to get those in. We will get to all the questions before the end of the show, as always. So it looks like our first question here came in from Jaffe. And question says, is there a way to simulate a custom small field or even a head-to-head that isn't supported in post-contest sims after the fact, using the exact lineups by building it in the pre-contest sim, for instance? I read this one probably like 15 minutes before the show, and was thinking about ways to do this. I think one thing that you can probably do here, which would be super interesting, is what you could do is first set up your contest sim in the settings, right? So like you're going to have to do this manually. You'll go to your contest sim settings. You'll go to add contest sim. What you want to do is select your create a custom payout structure. So set the contest size, set the percent to first, set the percent entries paid. Now for the field lineups, what I would do here is in a separate build. Let's say you go to build 1. Now you right click on it, or even build 2 here, right? We're going to go upload pool. So what I would do is I would upload the lineups. So what you can do is you can download the CSV file from DraftKings. You upload the lineups into a build in SaberSim. And then when you go to field lineups, what you do is you set the field to the build itself. So then what it's going to do here is run the contest sim against the lineups in the pool. So if you have a 50-person contest that isn't supported by that isn't in the post contest sims, well, what I think you can do is you can upload the 50 lineups into a pool, set up the contest size, percent to first, percent entries paid, set the field lineups to the same build, and then play that out 100,000 times here. And that is one way to do what you're wanting to do, is contest sim this field against itself. So I would give that a shot and see if that works for you. All right, next question here from Sick Hemi. Question says, when using mini uniques, is it better to look at the leverage and have leverage, just not too much leverage? Is it best to stay away from a lot of negative leverage? Okay, good question. So let's go to a build here. I think I ran some lineups in this build 1 a little bit before. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, so let's refresh projections. Close build 2. Don't need it. Build settings. Let's go 500 lineups, make 2 adjustments here. And let's kick off some lineups. So what I like to do is I like to see, okay, I think as a rule of thumb, we talk about using 2 to 3x a player's ownership as like their top range of their exposures, or even their bottom range, kind of like you could use it like in the absolute value terms. Like, hey, I want to go, 2 to 3x above at the most, 2 to 3x the player's ownership on the bottom range as well. So what Mini Uniques is going to do when you leave it at 1, it's going to take these really, really big stands, because SaberSim is going to identify plays that it perceives to be positive ROI and then it perceives to be negative ROI. And it's going to want to jam the best plays and then stay very, very far away from the plays that it doesn't like. So when you come in here, even if we use Saber Score, right? And just want to make these columns viewable. So if I sort by leverage, we're going to see positive 38%, positive 34, positive 33. So 3 players plus 30%. And then 1 player minus 19, minus 16, minus 15. So like 3 players, minus 15%, right? But then if I come in here and I crank up mini neeks to, say something like 7, right? And we still have plenty of lineups here in the pool, but now we only have 1 player negative 15 leverage and above. And then as far as positive leverage, we have nobody above 30%, with the highest being 23% now. So you're going to see like these stands that you're taking get smoothed out across your player pool. And that's kind of the goal here, right? Like, we talk about how high variance DFS is, how much of the prize pool is going to first, how bankroll graphs for DFS look way, way different than other forms of gambling. In DFS, you're going to see big spike, lose until your next big spike, and then your next big spike, right? Other forms of gambling, sports betting, poker, things like that, you're going to see this, small and steady up and down, but always kind of moving in the positive direction if you're a winning player, right? In DFS, you can go on these big losing streaks, even if you are a very, very strong player. And, for instance, like there was like a tweet the other day, if you guys follow FJ Bourne, always very transparent with like his bankroll tracking, and he posted a tweet where he was, on a stretch where he was down like 500K, and he's playing like nosebleed, top of the game. But even like great players like that, can go on these really, really tough downswings. And shout out to him for being willing to, share that information so other people can see that that is a real possibility, right? So I like to, kind of watch how these exposures and leverages move, comparing my, exposure to my ownership here. So like, or even like my leverage, right? So like, hey, I'm at mini neeks of 7. I'm looking at Matt Chapman, like 7% owned. I'm at like 30%. It's like a little high, but then everyone thereafter is like not in like the not terrible, right? So like I could try and go up to like 8 mini neeks here and see if I could get enough lineups, and I can here, right? And then now every batter is a little bit closer. Something like this, not the this is like very, very flat, right? And you can also tell by how many players are in my player pool. At 8 mini neeks, I'm at 121 players, but at 1 mini neek, I'm only using 72 players, right? So we are adding, 50-ish players to our player pool just by doing that one thing. All right, jumping over to the YouTube chat. Question from Aaron. It's a 2.5 to 5% profit plan. Is that total of your full bankroll or per site? So that would be what we talk about, is it's per correlated slate here, right? So if like you come into baseball, right, and you say, hey, I'm going to play, the turbo, the main, the turbo, and the night. Well, what you would want to do is do 2.5 to 5% of your bankroll across all of those slates. And then if you are playing slates with the same games on them across FanDuel, across Yahoo, across Owner's Box, that would be in total here. So, say you have a $2,000 bankroll and you want to play 5%. So that's like $100. It would be $100 across all sites where any game is shared. So that is how I would think about it. But, if you're playing, early in the year, you're playing MLB and NBA in like March. Well, NBA and MLB are non-correlated, very different, and you could play, 5% on each if you wanted to. So that's how that is set up to work. All right, LJ said, any plans to make a sim for props in apps such as Prize Picks and Underdog? That would be great. Yeah, we've dabbled in like the sports betting arena, in the past here. I think one thing that the reason like we don't do it anymore is that it takes our team's attention away from innovating on our DFS product, and that is really kind of our bread and butter, kind of where we like to focus our time here. So not to say that we won't get back into it in the future, but we still have a lot of big plans with DFS and things that we want to keep bringing to our app here. So for now, our focus is on DFS, but that could definitely change down the road here. All right. Dom said, how do you change the lineups from cash to a tournament line? Okay. So if I wanted to build cash lineups, and I'm just going to open up a new build for this. I would go to my settings and I would change it build mode from sim to optimizer. So on sim mode, sim is for tournaments, right? You're going to see style. You're going to be able to choose GPP, multiplier, or satellite. There's no cash option, right? Back in the day, there was a cash option there, but we changed it to where if you change your build mode to optimizer mode, this is effectively the cash mode. So optimizer for cash, sim mode, and style GPP for tournaments, right? Or you can change it if you're playing like a satellite or like a winner take all or something like that. The multiplier is mostly for like quintuple ups, like 5Xs, 10Xs, if they have those type of contests. So the build mode is going to be your best friend there. Dom said, how do you vary your lineups from a tournament lineup? Thank you. Been using SaberSim for almost a year. Awesome. So, we don't really recommend that our users play cash, mostly just because like cash is very hard to beat. And if you beat it, you're probably only beating it for like a couple percentage points. So it's like, if you have unlimited bankroll, like great, play cash and like squeak out some ROI there as well. But for most people, they're working within some type of financial constraint. So it's like, where are your dollars best served is like kind of the way we think about it. And we think that you can get a better return for your money playing GPPs. So the biggest difference between the two is that optimizer mode is going to solve a knapsack problem where it's trying to pack in as many projected points into your lineups as possible. It's going to build you the most projected lineup first, the second most projected lineup second, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What sim mode is doing, depending on our sim diversity slider, is it is randomly taking a different number of sims from each game on the slate, and then it is playing those out and building the best possible lineup from that subset. And then that's for lineup one. And then it does it again for lineup two, takes new random sims, and then new random sims again for lineup three. So sim mode, the higher sim diversity is, the smaller and smaller number of sims we are taking per game, which leads to higher upside outcomes, which leads to outcomes that are actually further away from a player's average projection. And you're able to find some of these plays that might not grade out well on average, but there are simulation sets where they actually do end up being good plays. And that can definitely happen when the games actually play in real life. All right. Brandon said, for the game stack exposures, is that just factoring the hitters from the game, or could it also be both pitchers? My understanding is that the game stacks is only looking at batters. But I could be wrong. Let's just check. We'll just like spot check a couple. So I built these 500 lineups. Let's go to games here. I have most game stacks from Cincinnati, Colorado. Those are probably going to be batters just because they're in Colorado. So let's go and look at like something a little bit smaller, maybe like Seattle and Oakland here. And I could just look in my entire pool. So Seattle and Oakland batters. Again, batters. I'm not seeing any Seattle or Oakland pitchers here. So I would say that this is strictly batters. That's what I believed right off the bat, but I just didn't want to say it without at least checking here. So I'm not seeing anything, just in this small sample here. And like these team totals like aren't the highest. So I am like 99% positive this is all batters. And based on our check here, that looks like what it is as well. All right. Sammy said, I want to personally thank you for the other day replying about rules individually. Yeah, man. Happy to help out. That is what I am here for. Follow up. Is it better to use the mini uniques before or after when using the optimizer? Does it make any difference at all? So when you're using optimizer mode, it is set up to use before, because you are not building a pool of lineups. You are building exactly the number of lineups you need. So like here, if I need 20 lineups in optimizer mode, we are going to build exactly 20 lineups. So there isn't a pool of lineups for you to filter through to find min uniques. When you're on sim mode, it's the opposite. We build you the pool and then we filter for the min uniques after the fact. So you would want to set those up prior when using optimizer mode. Brandon said, okay, sweet, thanks. Was getting a decent bit of Seattle, Oakland, and wanted to check. Yeah, man, happy to help out. Happy to, verify that for you. But taking a peek here, looks like we're all caught up in the Discord. Looks like we're all caught up here in the YouTube chat as well. So appreciate you guys tuning in. I will be right back here tomorrow, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern for our next show. So until then, everybody, take care. Good luck. I'll see you all. Thanks. Bye.